Well, you never know who's going to come on live on Hollywoodland at Hollywoodland22. I got bored today. I thought I'd come back on. I might decide. Hold on a second. I hope you guys aren't scared of the dark. Because I'm going to fix this. We're going to take this off. Take that lampshade off and put this very bright on. This light bulb. I don't know how many watts it is. Maybe it's 40, 60, something like that. We're going to put that on. And we are going to set things up a little bit differently today. I am in my bedroom. Yes, in the bedroom. Don't usually take people back here. We are going to set this up somehow. Here we go. And we'll put this over here. Take this little spoon and put it over here. And I don't know, maybe we'll put this up a little bit higher. Okay. Hi. Welcome in. Well, I'm going to tell you why I came on. Some things that have been on my mind lately. Yes. There's been things that have been on my mind lately. Excuse me. And maybe I'm going to put another box up here. Because I'm sitting so low on the bed. This is not like sitting on the chair in the kitchen. We are fixing up our living room. We're going to be purchasing some. We weren't going to stay here long. We were going to stay here a year, and then it ended up being a year and a half and 2 years. And we're going to, we don't know how much. We're here for now. North Carolina it's okay. Yeah. How about that? You like that? Does that work out better? I wonder if you guys can see me. People can see me okay. So this light here, kind of bright. I used to have more lights than this. I did not get a haircut. I just wet my hair back and everything like that. Now I got the medium brown. I think I might go for the light brown. When you get, I don't have a lot of gray hair here. I really don't. It's just right here and right here. But I just won't go ahead and do all my hair, right? Even though it's not gray. I know I have trolls that come in here and say that I have a bald head and that they call me gay when I'm not gay. I love women. I eat pussy for a living. I mean, dude, the Motel 6 always leaves the light on for me. I really enjoy it. But anyway, I love caffeine. I think I'm addicted to it. Dude, this is so fucked up. I got to put this over here. We're going to shift it over here. I hope this thing doesn't fall down. Let's put this over here. Okay. The light's going to go over here. I like that better. Yes, I do. Much better. Yes. We're going to put the light right here. And very busy day for me today. Oh, about the hair. Okay. It's been, I've been alerted by some people that watch this live stream. Not that I let other people tell me what to do with my teeth or my hair or anything like that, but the thing is, when you have a little bit of gray hair here and you want to get rid of it, so a lot of people, like women especially, I just do whatever the women do. I'm a dude, but I'm confident in my manhood. Don't worry about it, dude. I just put it all on. Anyway, I chose. What did I choose? I chose L'Oreal medium brown. It comes out really dark. I'm going to tell you that right here. It comes out dark, like dark brown, even though it's supposed to be medium brown. And I believe the next time what I'm going to do is I'm going to get light brown, and I'm going to, with red undertones, just natural light brown. No, I don't want to get a mullet. That's like in the 80s and stuff. I thought that was retarded back in the 80s. Oh my God, I said the R word, the infamous R word. I thought that maybe that was a TikTok word you're not allowed to say. Anyway, I'm just going to get the light brown because I have natural red undertones to my hair. That's how my hair is. I don't have like green undertones to my hair. So I'm just going to get the light brown next time. I don't know if I'm going to get my hair cut a little bit shorter. I don't really know. I mean, it would look, that's kind of like what it would look like if it was shorter, I guess. See how it just sticks up? It's just, I've got really wavy, thick hair. I must have a little bit of Irish in me. Just a little. I mean, I'm ethnically half English and half German, but my hair looks like there might be some kind of Irish in there. I don't know. Maybe some Southern Irish or something. I think I have a teensy bit of Greek in me. Something like that. Like a 64th or something like that. I did not do 23andMe. We did some other kind of, I had myself and some family members a long time ago did some blood tests. This is before they had this 23andMe stuff. This is way back in the 90s and stuff like that. And I can't remember. I think my brother or one of my other family members has the results of what my ethnic pie chart says. I think there's a little teensy bit of Greek in me, some Irish, but mostly I'd say like 40% English ethnicity and 40% German, something like that, and 20% assorted, something like that. You know, most of us Americans, we're mutts anyway. We could have like a last name that's, you could have a last name that's Swedish, but you could be, you know, not be Swedish. It's really weird. We're just a bunch of mutts, especially like when you go to like Appalachia or you go to like the Midwest or something, we're all mixed up. We're just a bunch of different people from different European backgrounds that are all mixed up ethnically. That's what the United States mostly is. Unless you go into some states like Maine. Like Maine is mostly English background, and New Hampshire, Vermont, like that. It's an interesting country we live in. The older I got, the more I went. When I went to university, I discovered that not all Europeans came here at the same time. We had, you know, a long time ago, we had the Puritans come here and stuff like that. And then we had some, you know, we had French up in Quebec, and then they came down into Maryland. And the Germans came here much later. They came here, the Irish, the Southern Irish, and the Germans. The Germans and the Irish came over here. The Irish came here to help the United States, which were the Union states, build up their army against the Confederate States in the United States Civil War, the American Civil War. And we gave them citizenship if they came here from Ireland. After the war, after the Civil War, a lot of German immigrants came here, and they went to Pennsylvania and then they just went across Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Nebraska, up into the Dakotas, and all the way out into Montana. They liked the northern states. There's a lot of German ethnicity up there. Then there was a second wave of Irish that came in. Trying to think back to college, what they taught me. A second wave of Irish immigrants came to the United States of America, but this time from Southern Ireland. These were Roman Catholic Southern Irish. And also Southern Italy and Sicily, because they were having a famine down there at the time. This was like in the early 1900s and into the 1920s, especially in 1930s. A lot of Southern Italian and Sicilian and Southern Irish Roman Catholic immigrants came to the United States, but they did not go to some of the same places that the other immigrants came to. They mostly settled in Boston, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, Baltimore, those areas. Some to Chicago and Cleveland and places like that, but mostly on the eastern seaboard. Or the Northeast. A lot of things I learned in university. I went to a community college, and I also went to and took liberal arts classes at Rutgers University. Not the one in New Brunswick, the one in Camden, New Jersey. Learned a lot of things about the United States of America that I would not know because they did not go into detail in high school. I went to the last 2 years of my high school the last 3 years of my high schooling was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, in Cherry Hill Township, New Jersey, Cherry Hill High School West. And we had a really good high school. I think 95% of the graduating class went on to higher education, went to college. That's one of the best schools in the country. I'm very, very fortunate that I went to that school. Of course, I never finished college. I ended up going, after a couple of years, I ended up going into the workforce and getting into sales. What somebody said, where in Cherry Hill? Let me see what they said. Is somebody from the area? You know where Cherry Hill is? And this is A.R. Friedman, 4577. Yeah. I went to Cherry Hill High School West. I remember my principal. Her name was Joan Katz. She was the principal, and she was a really good principal. And she ran a tight ship there. We had really good English teachers and history teachers and science teachers. We had teachers that were preparing students to go to higher education. And most of the students that went to college after graduating with me, they went to Rutgers University, or they went to up in North Jersey. They might go into Montclair State University, or they went to Princeton University, or they went over to Philadelphia and used an address of one of the relatives. Because a lot of people that live in Cherry Hill, Cherry Hill is a place that people from Philadelphia aspire to come to, so they go to Philadelphia. But they got grandparents and other addresses they can use so they can get in-state tuition in Pennsylvania. So they would go to Villanova, they would go to Temple University, or they would go to one of the, there's a lot of schools for the arts. There's the Curtis Institute of Music there. Philadelphia has a lot of universities, a lot of specialty schools, and it has a lot of really good old hospitals and a lot of research hospitals and all kinds of stuff. They have the University of Pennsylvania at Philadelphia, which is just south of the Philadelphia Zoo there, which has a school where you can get a degree, your master's degree in engineering. They have a medical school there. They have the Wharton School of Business, where our president went to, our current president. In a way, I was lucky to live in the Delaware Valley. That's what the Philadelphia metropolitan area is called. It's called the Delaware Valley. It's about 6.5 million people live in that area. It used to be the second biggest city. That Chicago overtook it, and then Los Angeles overtook Chicago. So I think Philadelphia is now possibly the Philadelphia metropolitan area is probably maybe the fifth. I'm not sure if it's not the fourth largest metropolitan area. I think it's New York, then Los Angeles, Long Beach, and then Chicago, and then Dallas Fort Worth, and then I believe that either Washington, D.C., Baltimore, or the Philadelphia, or one or the other, is the fifth and sixth largest metropolitan statistical area, they call it. That's what the federal government calls it. So I grew up around a lot of people. Philadelphia is not really, well, the area is cosmopolitan, but Philadelphia itself is not really cosmopolitan. It's really a blue collar kind of an area. It probably used to be more cosmopolitan a long time ago, but it became like a kind of like a factory town, like Baltimore became. But Baltimore fell apart, and Philadelphia still is solvent. It's economically solvent. There's also a lot of federal buildings there too. I mean, you got a mint there. You got the United States Treasury there. You have museums all over the place. It was our first capital. It's what's going on in Philadelphia is that, after the industry left a lot of the Midwest, and and Philadelphia and Baltimore were part of that, but on the East Coast, the Midwest, there's a lot of industry there. Baltimore fell apart. Philadelphia is in the last 20 years of reinventing itself into being something else. Maybe more. There's more aerospace around there. There's more maybe computer software companies around there. It's just banking, finance, insurance companies. Philadelphia is one of the American cities that has a large amount of residential buildings in its downtown area. Not all cities are like that. Like you go to like Los Angeles, and there's not that much residential down there. It's just some office buildings. People go to work, they go to the parking garage, and then they leave. And then what's left is nobody really goes down there. It's been like that for decades. Philadelphia actually has like retail stores in its area. Their downtown area, they call it Center City, is what they call it, instead of downtown. And there's a lot of shopping down there. And there's a lot of people that live down there. There's people with money that live there. There's old money that lives in certain parts of Center City, Philadelphia. And then if you go on the other side of Vine Street, you go into more of a working class area. You go a few blocks over the other way, and then it looks like a bomb hit the place. It looks like, it used to look like parts of the South Bronx, but they fixed it up a little bit. Yeah, there's parts of North Philadelphia that look really, really bad. Like you can tell, there's boarded up houses and all kinds of stuff. So it's a little bit of everything. I grew up around that. And also I'm familiar with down in Washington, D.C., because my parents grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, in Tacoma Park and College Park. My father even went to school at the University of Maryland, got his undergraduate degree there. Way back in ancient times. That's where my mom and dad are from. My grandparents lived down there, and they were federal workers. They were bureaucrats and stuff. When they came back from World War II, they got federal jobs. So it's only about a 3-hour drive. We used to drive down and visit my grandparents. I spent a lot of time in Tacoma Park, Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland, Washington, D.C. I'm very familiar with Washington, D.C. I've been in all the museums. They used to let you walk in the Capitol a long time ago. So I've been to the federal district. It used to be nicer, to be honest with you. It used to be safer. It's not the same anymore. Okay, you go away. I'm just telling people who I am. Yes, I do have German ancestry. I look like a celebrity. Really? I didn't know. I did not know. Okay, I don't know who this person is. It's mostly English, Angel Riviera. It's mostly English and German. My name is Randall. Yeah, I know. I've been told that before. Oh, Lloyd Keaton. They do have. Oh, yes, in Center City, they do have row houses there that people live in. They have some neighborhoods where the streets are very short, are not very wide, that are cobblestone. They're just big enough for a horse and carriage to go through in some of the more historic areas of Philadelphia, which are very high-end neighborhoods, actually, with homes that were built in the early 1800s and a few in the late 1700s that are still standing today, that have been maybe retrofitted and modernized and things like that. They do have some neighborhoods like that. Philly has had, you know what, a lot of people don't know that about Philadelphia. Philadelphia, since the 50s, just like Los Angeles, it was known as the speed capital of the East Coast in the 1950s when all those diet pills came out. And a lot of people that are younger don't know that there was like a little problem with diet pills like in the 50s. If you lived in a port city, like if you lived in New York or Boston or Baltimore, Baltimore is particularly bad with a drug that begins with the letter H. Like 1 in 9 people, as of like just 5 years ago, 1 in 9 people are like sticking needles in their arm there. But Philadelphia has a port, and a lot of port cities tend to have easier access to dangerous controlled substances, we might call them, coke, speed, H, or whatever they're doing nowadays. And they've always been that way. New York and Philly are like that, and Newark, New Jersey. So yeah, I'm very well aware that even when I was a child, that the biker gangs and stuff ran that. They ran that business, and they used to call speed, they used to call it Monster. If anyone's from Philly, you know it was called that. It was called Monster. It was that old crank and stuff like that. I mean, me personally, I never got into that stuff. I was more of a weed and coke person. I didn't get into it till I went out to California, really bad. But I have almost 19 years of sobriety time. I don't know if anyone knows that, but I do. On August the 8th, I will have 19 years of sobriety off of, let's see, alcohol, weed, and coke. I never got into speed. And I'm from Philadelphia, and I never got into speed. That a lot of people on the West Coast don't realize that there was tons of crank in Philadelphia even back in the 70s and 80s. It was around. It kind of vanished, and then I don't know. I think there's all kinds of brand new, real cheap drugs that have entered our country. People are just dropping like flies. I mean, there's people popping pills in Appalachia, and there's a bunch of young men dying. It's not good. It's not good. It's not really healthy. I mean, I never really thought about these things when I was younger, but when I got clean off that stuff in my late 30s, I started noticing that most of the country did not do that stuff. I was the anomaly. And then something happened about, I don't know, like somewhere around 2015 or 16, somewhere around that time, I'm not sure exactly when. I don't know, maybe 14 or 15. I think more like 2015 or 16. I just started noticing an enormous amount of people getting back into doing street drugs like they used to do in the 80s and the 90s. And then it kind of went away and it came back. But this time it wasn't real stuff. It was this new stuff. It was a lot of stuff that's really dangerous, you know, like I don't know if anyone knows that this new smokable speed is extremely dangerous. It's very dangerous to your aorta, your aortic root, your coronary artery, your heart itself. It's dangerous to your cerebral cortex, which is right here, the thinking part of your brain. It could give you a stroke, cardiac arrest, anything. Even in your 30s, it can do that. And you're doing that stuff and you're staying up for 2 or 3 days and you're smoking cigarettes and stuff. And I know people that I used to go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings and AA meetings and all those other 12-step recovery meetings. And what happened is they would be sober. I'm hanging out with them in the meetings and everything, getting to know them. And then they lose like a couple of years of sobriety. They go back out there and they don't come back. Or you find out that they passed away and they died at the age of 43. Because speed is much more dangerous than cocaine. Pound for pound it is. It's unbelievably dangerous. It's not a joke. It's I mean, you gotta understand, when I got in my late 30s, I made a decision that I wanted to live. This channel is not particularly about getting clean and sober. That's not what this channel is about. This channel is about whatever you want to talk about. I'm just talking about something because I just feel like it today. I've had friends that have lost their lives to I don't know anybody that does that fence stuff or whatever that is. I know it's around. I lived out in Los Angeles for like 29 years, and I just left 3 years ago. I just left Los Angeles after being there 29 years. And I came to North Carolina, right? And my God, it is hot. It was all around me, but by that time I'm clean and sober. I'm not really in the know about what's going on. I just watch the news, you know, or read the newspapers about what's going on. But this smokable speed, it's been around for a while. They used to call it ice. It comes from Indonesia, and then it came to like Malaysia to I think to Hawaii. And then from Hawaii, it came to San Diego, and then up to Long Beach, California, Los Angeles. Then boom, it goes across country. Went right up the West Coast, and then went out through the Midwest. You can go into places like Topeka, Kansas, and find it. You know, it's like if it's on the interstate, it's going to end up getting there. And this stuff is so dangerous. It can by the way, your pulmonary system, your lungs, it can destroy the inside of your lungs. Now, you might think it's okay now. You're in your 20s, you're in your 30s. You could have wrecked lungs by the time you're in your early 40s or something like that. You could have lungs that just, you don't have any wind. And I would recommend not doing it. If you're on it right now, I would recommend that you stop immediately and go to some place like what's a good place, a fast food restaurant. Go to like Jack in the Box and get like the really biggest cheeseburger you can or something, and a big giant cup of Sprite or something, and the biggest, largest French fries you can, and just eat all that, and then go get yourself like some ice cream and eat that too, and eat a lot of food and drink a ton of water. Drink like a gallon of water and stuff. And then like go home, right? And don't ever do meth again. And go to bed for like 2 days and sleep. And urinate it all out of your system. And get some chewing gum. Like maybe some bubble gum, and chew some bubble gum. Or drink like caffeine all day. And after that, after you get some good sleep, and like possibly chew gum all day and smoke cigarettes, just so you have something to do besides get methed up. I mean, if you want to live. I mean, if you don't want to live, then I don't know who's watching this channel. Sometimes I'm almost positive that there are some people watching this channel that I watch on other. They may say hi and I don't see them, or they might not be identifying themselves and watching me anyway. That's okay. You can watch me. You don't have to let me know that you're watching me or something. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not judging anyone at all. I've been there. I used to party, dude, and dudettes. Dudes and dudettes. Ladies and gentlemen, I used to work hard and I used to play hard. I just stopped, I stopped like before I turned 40. I stopped. And I'm a walking miracle because, I mean, you got to think on top of that, I have bipolar 1 disorder. I'm a manic depressive, full-fledged. I got to take meds and everything for it. I don't fuck around with that stuff. I really do enjoy living, because there's all kinds of fun things to do. Like listen to this lady sing here.
Rising up in the air.
Are you singing Hotel California again? Yes, Julie Newman is.
I saw a shivery
singing
light.
that.
My head was heavy and my sight was going dim. I had to stop for the night.
You guys can hear it, right?
Then she stood in the doorway. I heard the mission bell.
I'm going to check and see. I seem to get 107 people in my room when I talk about DRUGS, dangerous controlled substances. A lot of people want to talk about that stuff. Now, if I have bipolar disorder, it was diagnosed back when I was in my 20s, and I have like a zillion doctors telling me that I have it and take meds for it. And on top of that, I have recovered from and gotten therapy for an essay that happened to me when I was 11 years old. Okay? That trauma. Plus, on top of that, that makes me dual diagnosis, right? And I somehow figured out a way to stop using chemicals, coke, weed, and alcohol, and stay stopped for 19 years. If I can do it, there must be a reason why I can do it. I'm going to tell you 2 reasons. One is because I wanted to live. I chose to live. I made a personal decision to attempt to live and go in the direction of living. And a cockroach motel on La Cienega Boulevard and like Airdrome Street, like somewhere just south of Pico on La Cienega at the Plaza Cienega Motel. If anyone's from Los Angeles, right before La Cienega hits Venice Boulevard and Cadillac and everything there. Near the hospital. I think it's a Kaiser hospital there. And I stopped. And then 6 months later, after I went to rehab, I got cravings, right? So, yeah, I've watched Jimmy Swaggart. I know what he got in trouble doing something, but I'm not going to judge him either. Okay, what the fuck is this? Where's my okay, get the fuck out of here. You know that. Yeah, he did. Liberty Bible Institute. I agree. Nobody's perfect. I have blue purplish eyes. They're like blue and purple mixed. It's kind of weird. Alcohol is one of the worst poisons. I agree with you. So I never got into speed, but I know people that did. But anyway, I made a decision to live. And then 6 months later, you know what happened? I'm white knuckling it. And I'm going to these 12-step recovery meetings. I got my little sponsor. I'm doing my 12 steps or whatever. I'm in the middle of doing personal inventory, a fourth step. If you know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous, you do step work. And I got a zillion people that are helping me, a lot of men that are helping me figure out how to stay stopped. And I got cravings really bad for like about a week. And there was no one around to help me. I'm all alone in my place. And I did have a Bible around. I opened it up to John 3:16 and read it. And then I read everything after that. And then I asked Jesus Christ to take away the cravings to use alcohol and Coke and weed. And Jesus took away those cravings just like that, like immediately, like that. Gone. Never had a craving again. I should have asked him to take away the cravings to smoke cigarettes. He probably would have done that. But I stopped smoking cigarettes only 5 years ago. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. DID, a doctor told me that, I can't believe this, due to, he said it may have been due to the essay that I had when I was 11 years old. He diagnosed me, this doctor in California diagnosed me as having DID. I said, what is DID? Dissociative identity disorder. I said, well, what does that mean? They said, you have a split personality. Like I change into a different person. I talked to relatives of mine and some friends of mine, even more importantly, friends of mine out in Los Angeles. And they told me that sometimes, a lot of the time, that when, even after I was drug-free, that I had like a different type of a personality that made my face look different. And I looked like a different person. And the vibe from me was like, I wasn't Randall. I was someone else. It was like some kind of other personality that was protecting me from some kind of pain that was never resolved. Anyway, I saw a neuropsychologist. This guy had a doctoral degree in psychology. He also knew a lot about educational psychology. I think he used to help children too, in ways involving education and stuff like that. But he was a neuropsychologist, and he gave me some therapy. I got some therapy from him, and after talking to him, I pretty much, for the most part, put that other personality away. It's a personality that is something that I don't think you've ever seen on any of my YouTube videos or anything like that. Not you might. I don't think so though. You're going to be 46 July 9th. You're scared. Why, Jeff? Why are you scared? What are you scared of? Scared of fucking what? Did you screw up? Are you going to prison or something? I mean, I don't know. What are you scared of? You're not using drugs, are you? If you are, just stop. All you got to do is stop. Just stop now. So flush the rest of it. Don't even do any of it. You're welcome, lover of life. 8028. Yeah, well, you know what? Some people are 56 years old and they're just jumping all over the place like they're 21. I know people like that. Not really around the South. It's kind of interesting. A lot of people in the southern states, Charlotte, pretty much too. A lot of, and in the deep South, I've been. This is not the deep South. This is a mix. There's a lot of people from New York here, but there's a lot of locals here too. If you go out to the smaller towns, like in North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia and stuff like that, a lot of people here are. I don't know if they have good medical care here or something like that, because I've never really lived a long time in the South. I'm not going to be here very much longer anyway. Jesus willing, I'm moving to the Midwest. I'm not going back to California. I had a good almost 30 years there. I'm not going back there. It was fun, but there's a lot of people that look pretty old for 55 or 50. Like when they're 50, they look, especially the guys, they look old. I'm like, damn, what did you do for a living? Did you ever go to the doctor? Maybe there's just, I mean, people like, I guess at the age of 50, a lot of people back in those, maybe they had bad medical care here or something like that. I don't know. Charlotte has good medical care. I mean, they have some, in the last 10 or 15 years, they got some top-notch facilities here. But, I lived in California, and I'm in the doctor's office checking everything. Every year. Every 6 months, I'm getting labs and making sure that my cholesterol's not high and all this other stuff. And I'm eating vegetables, and I'm eating salmon, and I'm jogging. And as soon as I stop using weed and coke and alcohol, I started, exercising and walking 5 miles and lifting weights and stretching and playing tennis and riding bicycles and being very physically active, at least an hour to 2 hours a day. I don't know. It looks like in the South, it's different. A lot of people don't really exercise in the South that much. I mean, I'm sure people exercise here, but it just, they eat a lot of fried foods here, and they don't exercise that much. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of overweight people in the South. But then again, the whole country's getting like that. There's a lot of like overweight people. It's like, I'm not bashing on people that are overweight. I'm saying if you're more than 30 pounds overweight, and if you're more than 30 pounds overweight, and you're in your late 30s or something like that, pushing 40, you really need to get that weight off, in my opinion. And you need to go to your doctor and ask your doctor what he thinks. You really need to get that weight off and throw away the cigarettes. It's not a good thing. But, people are going to do whatever they want to do, I guess some people that use that stuff are like that, Teresa. Yeah. If Kurt Russell and Ray Liotta had a child, that's funny. You're funny. People are going to do whatever they want to do. If Kurt Russell and Ray Liotta had a child, you think it would be me. How could they? They're both men. That's odd. I think my brother met Ray Liotta before he passed away in the Kennedy Airport. Got a picture with him, my younger brother. He was a really good actor. I think he was a native New Jerseyan. Wow, we have 68 people in here. It's Wednesday. It's a work night, right? This is Eastern Standard Time where I am. So it's 10:30. Yes, I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have things to do. Los Angeles, in some areas, is very beautiful. Los Angeles does not have a long history of being a disgusting place. If you're referring to the lack of social order and crime and things that have been going on in about a third of Los Angeles, the city, and about a third of the land area of it in the last 10 years, that's getting cleaned up. That's getting cleaned up. It's in better shape now than it was in 2023. I'd say 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23, things were pretty bad there. It's gotten a little bit better. They got some homeless off the street. They got them into the hospitals and getting medical care for them. It's just that, I just don't want to go back. I did 29 years there, and I'm looking for a different place to live. I've lived near beaches all my life. I lived near New Jersey beaches. I've lived near California beaches. So I'm not like, I like the beach. I can go visit the beach, but I kind of want to live in the middle of the country. I want to live in a place where there's longevity in my family. And God, I don't know, Jesus allows me to live into my 90s. I don't know. What if he does? Or even my 80s? What if Jesus allows me to live into my 90s and I get to be 103 like Jiminy Cricket? Okay. Where am I going to spread my money out? Well, I'm going to go to the middle of the country. Where are some inexpensive places to live in the middle of the country right now, which is very different from 20 years ago, that are not expensive, but they're not in the South where there's poor medical care. Okay. Texas and Florida are not the South. Florida is expensive now. Texas is affordable. Texas is affordable. I would not live in any of the other southern states. None of them. I got my own reasons. It's not my cup of tea. Not for the rest of my life. I mean, temporarily. My father passed away, but I got to spend two and a half years visiting with my father in North Carolina. He had retired down here. It's a good thing that I came to the Charlotte area, spent some time with him. The Midwest, yeah. I'm thinking about Missouri, not Arkansas or Oklahoma. I know those states. Those are very poor states. They're for some people, but they're not for me. Tennessee, Kentucky, I'm not living in those places. Somewhere in the Midwest. I don't mind. I like Four Seasons. I would live in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. I would even live in Western Pennsylvania, in the Pittsburgh area, or in Kansas, Eastern Nebraska, anywhere in Missouri, or even Iowa. I'm considering Des Moines, Iowa, too. That they have some very good. They got some low prices on single family homes there. I just need one with a basement. God forbid a tornado comes by. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some parts of the South have gotten expensive. I don't know if you guys know this, but Raleigh and Charlotte, North Carolina, and Charleston, South Carolina, have gotten very expensive. Savannah's gotten expensive. Atlanta is expensive. Atlanta's a ripoff. Atlanta has high crime. Charlotte has high crime. I don't even know why people move here. Nashville has. What do you mean $400,000 for a house? You can go out to Missouri, and you can get a house in a far-flung suburb for $200,000. You can get an older house in a small town outside of the suburbs, but you can get into Kansas City or St. Louis or something like that, and for $150,000. Why? I don't understand the whole concept of a $400,000 house that's only less than 1,500 square feet. I don't get that. Do you get that? I mean, I know the reasons. One of the main reasons behind it is the illegal aliens taking up the space in the country. I mean, that's one of the major reasons for it. They try to say, oh, it's all Blackstone. No, it's not. It's because you have 35 million undocumented aliens in the United States, and they take up space, bed space. There's no like people are homeless in Los Angeles all over the place because there's nowhere for them to live. Even if they had the money, No, no, and they're not getting rented to. I know what the problem is. And there's not enough, and well, they can fix the problem by just, if they want to just keep all the illegal aliens in here, because, you know, he's not going to get them all out. It's ridiculous. They could build homes. I mean, you got towns that could be rebuilt, like Wichita, Kansas is kind of, you could rebuild that place and build some houses around there. Maybe put some places to work around there. What's some other place? Maybe Columbia, Missouri, or maybe Cheyenne, Wyoming, or maybe in Montana. They got a lot of land in Montana. There's a lot of land out in West Texas and stuff like that. They can build some houses out there. It's cheap to live out there. There's a solution to the housing problem. Not everybody can afford to live in Southern California, even when the economy is good and there's no homeless people there. I guarantee you, if you're an average American, you cannot afford to live in Southern California unless you're going to work 80 hours a week. You have to have some kind of I don't know, inherit some money or something. Come on. Or be like a genius that invents something and you make yourself millions of dollars. Just the average person can afford to live there. If you go to California and you're like middle income, you're going to Bakersfield or Fresno, and you'll have a hard time at Fresno too. Even a house there costs $400,000 or $450,000, and that's an old house with gas heating. You want to hear the truth? I'll tell you the truth. Yeah, some people can afford to get a condo in Santa Monica. I mean, a long time ago, back in the 80s or something, if you bought like a condo or a house, like back in, like if you were my parents' age or something, or if you're even my generation and you got it and you had enough money to put down on a house, you could probably live in like northern LA, like in the San Fernando Valley, and recede to some place, and you and your old lady could like put some money down on a house back in, at least if it was before 1994 or 93, like back in the late 80s or very early 90s, you put some money down on a house and get a house back then. But nowadays, it's just, I know a lot of people that live in LA, that own houses. Those houses were owned by their parents and also their grandparents. And these are not in particularly rich neighborhoods. These are in places like Van Nuys and Sun Valley and North Hills and places that are like just barely blue collar neighborhoods. You know, you go to South Central in the hood and they got houses that are like $350,000, like in some of the most dangerous zip codes in all of Los Angeles. And a single family home is, I mean, a fixer upper would be like maybe 300,000, but most of them are like $400,000 for a fixer upper. Or a house in a very dangerous area. Like certain parts of Compton are very dangerous. Well, Compton's not as dangerous as it used to be. It's changed a lot. It's nicer now. The problem with California is that there's too many people living there for the amount of jobs there. Even when we had more jobs there were too many people living here. You got to understand, Los Angeles County alone at one time had 1.3 million undocumented aliens there. They're not even supposed to be there. Plus, on top of that, it had, and that means its real population was like 11 million, over 11 million. Now the population of Los Angeles County is under 10, just under 10 million. And now you have approximately, the last I heard, is around 900,000 undocumented aliens from other countries, mostly Mexico and Central America. They're in Los Angeles County. They're not even supposed to be there. They're illegally in the country. And on top of that, of American citizens that live in LA, it could lose 2 million people easily. I mean, there's just 2 million people that just don't need to live there. Something is artificially keeping there. They're getting Section 8 housing. There's something, they're not paying the way. It's a dude. There's too many. I don't care if you're working. There's too many people living in LA. There's too many people living in California. It's overpopulated. California should have 30 million people in it, not 39 million. 9 million people. Go somewhere else. Go to Nebraska. Go to North Platte, Nebraska. Go to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Spread out. There's too many people in California. I live there. I know. It's a night. You can't go anywhere. You get in your car, anywhere you need to go is a minimum of 20 minutes, even if it's 1 block away. It's 20 minutes to get to the 7-Eleven. You might as well walk down the street, go there without using a car. Kelly Nunes, welcome in. Okay, Alume_Sada_Pavan. Hello, first time here. I'm listening to you from Hollywood, California. 100,000 on point. Yeah, thank you for agreeing with me. Somebody agrees with me. I lived on Whitley and Yucca. You know where Whitley and Yucca is? I lived in across from the Fontenoy apartments, behind the cash it here, check cashing. I used to live in, you know where the Motel 6 is? It used to be an Art Deco built in 1928 hotel, and it turned into apartments, and then I lived in there when it was apartments. I lived there near Yucca, in between Yucca and Hollywood Boulevard on Whitley. It's a Motel 6 there. Motel 6 bought it and turned it into a motel. But it used to be an apartment complex, and the building is huge. It goes back real far, and it was built in 1927. I used to live there. I used to pay $475 a month to live there. Back in the early 90s. Well, you know what? They hit MacArthur Park 3 times. I can watch television. I can watch the smartphone. They hit MacArthur Park. A lot of those people, the whole MacArthur Park area and the neighborhood around it is completely controlled by 18th Street Gang and other people selling illicit drugs and stuff down there. The federal government came in there and they cleaned it out. Boom, they hit it. Boom, they hit it a second time. Boom, they hit it a third time. All in 2 months. Did you watch it? Did you watch it? You see, the thing, what's going on is I'm telling you about it. You're not hearing it on the cable news anymore. Somebody at the upper echelons has told the television stations to stop talking about it. People getting all mad about everything. Okay, it needs to be cleaned up. The federal government has already stepped into Los Angeles, where I used to live, and I'm probably never going to go back there again. I had to leave. That was my home. A lot of us had, hundreds of thousands of people had to leave their home because a bunch of crooks took over the government. A bunch of pieces of garbage are running around all over the street. A lot of them are from other countries. They're from other parts of the United States. They're American citizens. They're selling drugs and alcohol and all kinds of crap there. They're selling alcohol out of their car. They're hurting women and children. There's all kinds of bad people that moved into the area. And the federal government is cleaning up Los Angeles right now. It's cleaning up. The next place they're going to go is they're going to clean up San Francisco and Oakland, and they're going to clean up Sacramento. But you know what? It's a little too late for me. A lot of people, if I see them a little bit upset, it's because that was my home. If somebody came into your home, if you lived in, I don't know, say you lived somewhere like real nice, like what's a nice place? Like Overland Park, Kansas, or you lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, or something like that, and a bunch of people that were criminals moved into took over your government and took over your local government, and then said that there's not going to be any cash bail for any criminals, and they decided that they were just going to look the other way and let people sell rugs and all over the streets and everything like that, and you had your wife coming home and complaining that she's scared coming out of the grocery store because panhandlers were aggressively approaching her, and this was like close calls and stuff. How would you feel if you're just a normal person who goes out to work, and the poor people that work are going to get hurt the worst? They're going to really feel it. So people from all walks of life, wealthy, billionaires, multimillionaires, upper middle income, wealthy people and poor people, working poor, all these people, they all left. They're all forced to leave because they have children or they're elderly or something, and they can't live in an unsafe area where the government allows the criminals to do whatever they want. This all started in 2000 and around 2015 or 16 and got progressively worse every single year. I watched it happen, and I finally left in August the 17th of 2023. Thank you, bad mayors Vigorosa, Eric Garcetti, who I think is mentally ill, and that card-carrying communist Karen Bass, which is in the middle of her and her friends stealing the pre-election thing they had. They had 3 people running off. Spencer Pratt was one of them. You know that they didn't count a lot of his votes. The feds have to step in. The federal government is going to step into Portland. It's going to step into San Francisco. It's already stepped into Los Angeles. When you've got mayors, city councils, and county boards of commissioners and stuff like stealing money, lying, not enforcing basic laws and stuff like that, you think that the federal government isn't going to step in at some point? Of course they are. The people that are the most angry about what's going on in California are Democrats, because it's a bunch of Democrats there anyway. The Democrats that pulled the Democrat lever, they didn't know that there was going to be lawlessness. Not like this. They didn't know that they weren't going to be able to walk out of their house without smelling marijuana everywhere and having some crazy guy running down the street with a machete trying to attack them. That's what's going on some places. And the people that are producing, that are making things like making money, creating businesses for other people to work, they're all going to leave. The disease of LA has already spread into Las Vegas. People didn't move to Texas and Arizona and Tennessee and North Carolina for no reason. They fled California for real reasons. You wouldn't want me to be the president of the United States. I don't think I'd make a very good president. Most of my life, I was a Democrat. I'm an independent. I'm not a registered Republican. You might want to tell me I am, but I'm not. I'm an independent. Most of my life, I was a Democrat. It's funny how I'm talking about this kind of subject matter. It's really gotten to me. But it's strange because, after being gone out of LA and looking at what's going on there now from afar, I can see that it's easier for me to understand what I was actually living in from about 2015 on, because it was nice before that. But from 2015 on, it had really disintegrated. And I kept thinking it was going to get better. This is just a short-term thing, blah, 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 blah. They're going to get the homeless. No, they're not. It doesn't even matter. If the FBI finds out that everybody's cheating and Spencer Pratt really should have been the mayor and all this stuff, and they put him and he ends up being the mayor and all this other stuff, it's not going to matter. It ebbs and flows so fast there. Within 4 or 5 years, people vote for some other person to get in there, and that person will be a crook, and he'll steal too and wreck the entire city until the feds have to come back a second time and clean up the whole city. I'm not taking any chances. I'd rather live in Kansas City. I'd rather live where there's cold weather, freezing cold weather, 4 years of the month, tornadoes, live in a house with a basement. And it's really, it's not. I'm going to Missouri. It's cheap to live there. I'm not going back to California. I don't even know if I'm ever going to visit California again. If I want to go to a beach, man, I'm going to go to the Panhandle of Florida. Has anybody ever been to like Destin, Florida, or Fort Walton Beach or any of those places? I'll tell you what, the Gulf Coast is really beautiful. I've been there a couple times. It's really a beautiful part of Florida, and it's not as crowded. The beaches are like sugar sand. That they're like the color of I don't know, like an envelope or like a white envelope or sugar. You ever been there? You just slandered me and called me gay when I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about because I'm not gay, dude. I know Daytona Beach. I've been down there. I got wasted in those bars on Ridgewood Avenue. I moved around a lot my mother got divorced from my dad. She moved us out to West Texas, and we traveled around. And I've been to Mexico and lived in California. I lived 3 years up in Washington State when I was a young guy, and came back down to Los Angeles. I lived a lot of places, but I think I'm done with the West Coast. And I want to live kind of like where I can get to my family. My family lives in like the Panhandle of Florida, and they live down in like around the Tampa area. And I got family that lives in upstate New York and New England, right? And I got family that lives in Texas and Kansas and Oklahoma and Nebraska. So I got close family that lives in all of those areas, but I want to live central where I can just jump on an airplane and not have to go all the way across country to go see my relatives. If I live in Missouri, I can get to Texas, I can get to Kansas, I can get to the Panhandle of Florida and see my other relatives, my cousins. I got cousins in Tennessee. I got uncles and aunts that live up in New England and upstate New York, and it's not that far. When you go past like the Missouri River or something, when you go west of like, let me pick a town. If you go like west of like Topeka, Kansas, from there all the way to the Pacific Ocean to like San Francisco, that's an enormous area of land. I mean, most people in the United States live from about Topeka, Kansas, or the 100th meridian. They live from there east to the Atlantic Ocean. That's like 80% of the population. The other 20% live from Topeka, Kansas, all the way out to California, Washington State. I'm not going to live all the way on the other side. I did that for 29 years, and I missed a lot in my family. I'm going to live closer because what little family I have left, they're important to me. And I like wide open spaces anyway. I'm a Cancerian. I'm a late June Cancerian. You know, I'm a crab. That's my zodiac sign. You'd think I'd like the beach because crabs hang out on the beach, right? Maybe that zodiac was wrong. I kind of like wide open spaces, like a big giant cornfield, or like somewhere like in like Iowa or Missouri or Kansas or Nebraska or something like that. I like or Texas has a lot of play. I kind of am looking into Fort Worth too. I've spent a lot of time in Dallas Fort Worth. I got a lot of family around there too, so there's a reason for me to live in that area. I don't mind cold weather. I kind of like the seasons. People change. I used to like warm weather, and now I don't want to sweat all the time. Montana, you know what? I wonder if I could. Is that too far away? I think even Billings, Montana would be too far away. I don't want to go further north than Nebraska or Iowa. That's about as far north as I go. Is maybe Nebraska, Iowa is as far north as I would go, because I can still get down to Florida and to the East Coast on an airplane within a couple hours, as opposed to it taking almost 5 hours to go across country. When you're on an airplane and you're living out in like San Francisco somewhere or LA, it takes you anywhere from 4 hours and 45 minutes to 5 hours of flight time alone just to get to the other side of the country. When you live like around the Mississippi River somewhere or the Missouri River somewhere, it only takes like a couple hours. I mean, I think almost 2/3 of the country is from like the Mississippi River, like, or Topeka, like going to the Pacific. Drive it sometime. If you're ever like halfway across the country, go to St. Louis, then drive all the way to the other side of the country. Go to Kansas City and then drive all the way to San Francisco, and you tell me how far it is. And in between towns is like 50 miles, 100 miles. There's nothing out there, dude, but grass, cows, dirt, rocks, nothing. When you're on the East Coast, there's a little town like every 10 or 15 miles. That's the difference. So forget that noise. I experienced a lot in my life. Yeah, I know. It's probably filthy. Vegas turned into a dump lately, hasn't it? God, they let that place go. Like at walking level, at pedestrian level, it's like, damn. There's better places to go on vacation, I guess. There's some beaches in Florida that are not, well, there's the Panhandle beaches, but I kind of think those beaches, like, those beaches that are kind of like not in Miami, but they're not in Daytona Beach. They're kind of like in central eastern part of Florida, like Melbourne and Cocoa Beach and places like that. They got some nice beaches down there. Vero Beach is really nice and stuff. They got some beautiful beaches on the Atlantic side and on the Gulf side too. Florida does have nice beaches. I will give it that. It's very hot. I like Florida in the wintertime. Sarasota's nice. Man, there's a lot of old motherfuckers in Sarasota, man. They got some old people there, man. They're like driving their car, like driving off into the median, in between the lanes, popping up on the curbs and stuff like that. And they got political power. They're never going to lose their license. Do you remember the summer of '86? Actually, I do remember the summer of '86. I will not tell you how old I was. I was a child, but yes. I moved to Los Angeles in 1989. 88 or 89, like late 88 or 89. I was real young. It's like fucking 19 years old or something, 18 years old. I think I was like 18. I was young, man. They had a gang of like young people that had come to Hollywood from all different parts of the country in the late 80s, and they lived underneath the Hollywood freeway bridge. They lived underneath a bridge that went over. No. They lived underneath the Hollywood freeway, which went over Cahuenga Boulevard in Hollywood, not too far from Capitol Records. And they camped up on the sides underneath the bridge. And do you know what the name of their gang was? The Trolls. Does anybody remember that? All throughout the 80s and into the 90s, they're called the Trolls. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember that. On what? You think I'm 55 years old, but I'm not. I'm not 60. I'm not 66 and a quarter. I'm not in my 60s. I'm not in my late 50s. I don't know what you're talking about. Siesta Keys, yeah. Siesta Keys, that's the ticket, dude. I might sound like I've been like I'm a bag, like I've traveled a lot. I've had the resources to travel a lot. Okay. Some people do and some people don't. Some people have never left their hometown, and some people that have never left their hometown are wonderful people. In fact, some of the most wonderful people in the world have never left their hometown or not traveled very far from it. Some of us people that have traveled a lot, some of us are nice and some of us are dicks. I met a few dicks. I don't think I'm a dick. I mean, I met some dicks. I got to read some of these. Some of you guys are funny. I'm not 65. I'm not in my 60s. You know what? You're full of shit, motherfucker. Dude, let me tell you, I'm going to block you because you're a dickhead. And for your information, there's some people in some gangs in Hollywood that I caught slipping that tried to check me. You know what I did? I showed them the asphalt. I made their face part of the asphalt. That's what I've done to some gang members that I caught slipping out there in Hollywood back in the late 80s and the 90s and stuff. I've even done it in the last 5 years. Did you know that? In mid-cities over near just south of Pico? Yeah. Some fuckers know me around there. Yeah, but in real life, those guys would whip your ass. They just didn't do it to me. I learned how to scrap when I was in the first grade in Philadelphia, dude, in New Jersey. I can handle myself. Punk ass bitch talking shit on the fucking internet. Fucking punk ass bitches on the internet. Got these little boys these grown ass men acting like little boys talking shit on the internet. I've gotten in physical altercations with all kinds of flavors of people. Some of them got grabbed by their hair and thrown down the stairs. Some dudes got kicked in the ribs. Some guy threw them to the pavement. I've done shit like that. What the fuck do you want me to tell you? I lived in Hollywood. I lived in San Pedro, California. I've had to deal with some situations that I did not start, but I had to finish. I lived in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s when things were rougher. When people in LA would come up to you and check you and say, yo, where are you from, man? Like that kind of stuff. And the first thing I would do is I just punch them in the face. Right on the asphalt. No questions asked. You don't come up and check me. I'll take your firearm away from you. Jesus allowed me to live. I could have got hurt. There's crazy people running around in these big cities with all kinds of firearms and all kinds of stuff. I mean, really, I'm the stupid one. I shouldn't have been walking around at 2 o'clock in the morning. Anywhere in LA, should I? Unarmed? Is that stupid? Yeah, I did stupid stuff. I used to have a substance abuse problem. And then what that does is it put me in situations where I had to handle myself and maybe almost have someone put a hole in me, or I could have got stabbed. Or I had to street fight and fight my way out of stuff, which I was successful. Or get jumped like by 5 guys or something like that. I've had all kinds of situations happen to me, but it almost always happened to me when I was using coke, weed, and alcohol. When I'm running around the street, so it's after dark. It's like after 10 o'clock at night, and I'm running around on Pico Boulevard. I'm in West Adams. I'm in Inglewood. I'm in Long Beach. I'm in Willowbrook. You guys know those areas? You won't catch me at Watts or nothing, but I'm just saying I'm in neighborhoods where, you can run into some people that want to do you some harm. I want to steal your wallet. I want to hit you, you know, they got a brick in their hand or something like that. There's all kinds of, you know, if you're from a big city, you know what I'm talking about. And when, that's another reason I stopped using, that's another reason why I stopped using coke and weed and running the streets and partying on the weekends, working during the week, part on the weekends. One of the reasons I stopped is because you find yourself in situations with other like vagrant drug addict types and running around the streets. They got some real monsters out there. Gang members trying to check you or something. Some shit, misinterpreting who you are or something like that. Well, in my case, they did. But you could lose your life out there if you're in a big city doing that stuff for no reason, just for being at the wrong place at the wrong time. The only reason I'm really alive is because Jesus Christ allowed me to live. I don't run around trying to start trouble. I just defend myself successfully. You know, have you ever lived like that? You probably are smarter than me, and you probably never got involved with rugs, right? Or you went right home, did them in your house, right? You run around on the street and do them, huh? I was in no movies. I've never worked in the entertainment business. I've been in direct sales most of my life. Aluminum siding, vinyl siding, construction tools I sold, did cold calls, straight commission, commission with a draw, all different kinds of stuff. I worked in the restaurant business. I worked in the nightclub business. I worked in retail sales. Of course, we have backstories about our lives. I like a lot of 90s music. I like Nine Inch Nails. I like a Green Day and Offspring and Nirvana and Beck. I really like Beck a lot. I like that guy that does the happy song. What's his name? Pharrell Williams. Talk about my hair again. No. Thank you, God, you got out of Vida Loca. Has anybody ever been to Santa Monica and Western? You know where Santa Monica and Western is? Near Melrose Hill? In southeast corner of Hollywood? Yeah, I've been in some altercations there. Got some real winners on that intersection, huh? Real winners there, huh? I like Beck. What's that winner chicken dinner? These people are asking me questions and stuff like that, ridiculous questions. Like, I mean, I had a substance abuse problem, of course, in Los Angeles. Of course, I'm going to be out on the street at 3 o'clock in the morning, running into situations like I shouldn't be in. Having no choice but to sit there and street fight against people like, usually, I'm 6'1", but I mean, this one guy. You want to hear a story? Check this out, dude. Okay, I'm running back. I scored shit. I'm coming back from the donut shop. I'm in Highland Avenue. I'm coming south on Highland in Hollywood, right? I'm running down the street. This is a good story. It's back in like the early 2000s, right? I'm like running down the street, right? And I'm about to go back to my apartment, right? And I run into this dude who tries to block the sidewalk. And I'm 6'1". And I was kind of thin back then. I was weighed about 165 pounds. I was kind of bony and 6'1". But I'm not anybody to tangle with. This guy that looked like he was 350 pounds of muscle, about 6'5", with hands as big as my face. This big dude. He grabbed my arm like this. He said, "You know what's up. Cough it up." Like that. And you know what I did? I punched him in his neck. Check this out, dude. I'm not losing. I'm not, nobody's taking nothing from me, man. Nothing. I punched him in his neck just enough that he let go of my arm, and I jumped on top of a Toyota Corolla on the hood, and I jumped out into the middle of like Highland Avenue and ran top speed all the way down to Hollywood Boulevard. And I barely looked. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and ran all the way past the Ripley's Museum, and all the way past the Max Factor, and all the way past until I got all the way down to like Sunset Boulevard, in the middle of the street, past Hollywood High School and everything. And I looked back, and I guess I outran the dude. And I was like, and then I kept running down Sunset Boulevard. I went all the way back the back way, all the way down to Sunset Gower Studios, is on the other side. And I had to go the back way into my apartment on Wilton Place and stuff like that. I ran and ran and ran and ran. This is after smoking a cigarette too. And I ran around. He grabbed my arm and he wouldn't let go. So I just punched him in the neck, and then he let go. And boom, I just jumped on top. I looked like I was in the Olympics and shit. Fucking jumping out in the middle. I could have got hit by a car. Who knows? Maybe somebody was driving around 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a good thing was a Tuesday night. There wasn't anybody out there partying. What, you want to hear some stories, dude? You guys have been asking me for these Hollywood stories for years. I got Hollywood stories. I got San Pedro stories. I got Long Beach stories. I got I'll save the Compton story. That happened in 1994. I'll save the Compton story for another time. It's a good one. It involves police officers and everything else, and what they did to my friend and everything. I'll tell you some other time. But guess what? It's time for me to go. So the stories are over. I have 19 years of clean and sober time. Almost. And I'm going to go over to another platform. And I'm going to go see if some of my, got like 3 or 4 different people. I've narrowed it down to about 3 or 4 people that I actually watch. That actually got good channels. There's 2 people on TikTok. I'm really actually taking some time out of my day, like maybe 15 minutes out of my day for each person, and reposting their videos and trying to get some traction on their channel, so their channel can get a little bigger. Hopefully they'll push out the videos. I'm starting to think that TikTok is not going to get better. You know, a lot of people have left TikTok that have been live streaming there, and they stay there. I don't know why they stay there. Maybe they want to stay there, but they won't make that jump back to YouTube, because YouTube is where a lot of people are going now. TikTok's changed a lot. I'm back on YouTube. I stopped using TikTok back in October of last year. I just stopped. This is a non-monetized channel anyway. I'm not going to monetize this channel. Since I went over here to YouTube, I have not monetized this channel. And I'm going to start live streaming more often than Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 6 p.m. until whenever. I'm going to start live streaming on when I have some time off, like at maybe 12 to 12:30 or something like that, maybe for a half hour during the week. Maybe the weekdays, maybe 7 days a week. Maybe I'll do it 7 days a week, and I'll do it at 6 p.m. until whenever, or come on at 7 p.m. or whatever. But during the day, during the week, I'm very busy. I could come on my lunch break, but I have to eat something too. There's only so many hours in a day. Now, when I get this channel has about 1,500 subscribers now. What I need you to do, tell all your friends on all the platforms you go to, all over the internet if you could. I really need your help on this one, is to hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. My channel name is Hollywoodland22. I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area for the last 3 years. But I lived out there in Los Angeles, in the Hollywood neighborhood, and Van Nuys, and North Hollywood, and in San Pedro for a while, and also in mid-cities, Los Angeles. I lived out there for about 29 years. I got a lot of stories about getting clean, sober. I got a lot of stories about crazy stuff I got involved in. And I could tell you those stories. And we can talk about whatever you want to talk about too. The only 3 things I don't want on my channel is I don't want any chat that is anti-Semitic. No anti-Semitism allowed on my channel. Number 2, no racial bigotry is allowed on my channel. Number 3, no talking nasty about women and children. You do any of those things, I'm going to block you from my channel forever. I do have moderators at Dakula1, airline_pilot, Jerry, and another, who else is it? I got 4 moderators. Daniel Holman is another moderator. And I thank all you folks for moderating for me and keeping my chat flowing is the best that you can. And this channel is really about usually whatever you want to talk about. Today it's about what I wanted to talk about. I wanted you to get to know another side of me that you might not have known. You might have suspected, but somehow I got, with Jesus's help, I got clean and sober. I asked him to take away the cravings. I just did the rest. But I do have some crazy stories, man. I'll tell you some more. I'm going to save those for later. Okay. I'm here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 6 p.m. until whenever. Sometimes a half hour, sometimes a couple hours. Eastern Standard Time. That's New York City time. Same as Charlotte, North Carolina time. In the United States of America. And I'm thinking about going live 6 or 7 days a week because I need to get my subscribers from 1,400 and change or whatever it is, or 1,500. And I need to get to 10,000 subscribers by September the 1st of this year. It is absolutely free for you to subscribe. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button. My channel name is Hollywoodland22. My handle is at Hollywoodland21. You can hit at Hollywoodland21 and you can find me. You'll see the subscribe button and just subscribe. And it's free to subscribe. I'm not going to be charging for subscriptions. No, absolutely not. YouTube is not paying me right now. I'm doing this for free. I don't really need the money. The thing is, when I get to 5,000 subscribers, if it's worth it to me and I can make a couple $100 a week, just change. That's change nowadays. That's nothing. That's nothing. I mean, I must enjoy this talking to you, talking at you, or you guys are reading the chat or whatever. I must enjoy it for me to do this like 4 or 5 times a week, only for a couple $100. But I don't know. I'll probably just take the money and I don't know what I'll do with it. Maybe just use it to, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it to streamers that need the money more than me, because it's the only way that this would ever, this would never even become a full-time. The only way this would become a full-time thing for me is if I really did well. Which I believe this channel is going to get to 100,000 plus subscribers. I can already see it's going to happen. If I get to the point where I got about 50,000 subscribers and this thing is pulling in some real money, I'll have to make some changes in my regular thing I do. That would make it actually. That would make it a real part-time occupation. No. doing your taxes and everything. I mean, that would be this. But for right now, it's just for fun. So if you could hit the subscribe button, I really appreciate it. Thank you, all of you. How many are here? If I get a little bit aggressive sometimes, it's because, well, oh, I forgot this. It's because, well, I am bipolar. Let's see. Do I have any water? No, I do not. We're going to go into the other room and we're going to go into the water area. We're going to get water before I go away. My name is Randall, by the way. There's only one person on social media that knows my real last name. And I allow that to happen because I trust that individual. Wholeheartedly trust that individual. Let's see. See that? I usually drink this stuff. This is Powerade Zero or Gatorade Zero, either one. I like both. I fill this bottle. I keep it about 3 days. After 3 days, you don't want to drink out of the plastic anymore. I keep this. And I just love lorazepam. I really do. Ever try it? Huh? Ever try it? If you're a manic depressive like me, it certainly does take away a lot of anxiety. I would not wish bipolar disorder on my worst enemy. Sucks. You get all this flight of ideas and just like that. And you can think about all these different things, and like your brain is like you're hearing things talk. You can analyze your thoughts. You can analyze like 30 thoughts at the same time. But what happens with bipolar people is you start going too fast and then everything fragments. That's why people take medication like lithium carbonate and things like that. Some people take very strong medication like Seroquel or Geodone. I'm not going to tell you what medication I take because guess what? It's none of your business. What did you think I was going to tell you what meds I'm on? Of course I'm not. You're never going to know. You guys gonna make fun of my hair next? You trolls. Look at that. I can't believe this. Oh, you're allergic to Geodone? That Geodone makes you wiggle around, doesn't it? Trazodone and gabapentin. I wouldn't take gabapentin. That stuff makes my heart flutter. Oh. But you know, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do. I got bipolar 1 disorder. Was dissociative identity disorder, which I had therapy for, so I don't have a split personality anymore. And I'm a salesman. No, it's not. It's about anything. It's not about my mental health. I'm just explaining that I have bipolar disorder. You're a sober coach? Really? I don't coach people too well. I got 19 years of sobriety off of coke, weed, alcohol. I live in North Carolina for the last 2 years and 11 months. I've been in between Raleigh and Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Part of my childhood, I lived in Lubbock, Texas, in the Panhandle of Texas, and I lived in Los Angeles for 29 years, and a couple of years up in Bellevue, Washington, Washington State. I've been in Tennessee. I got family that lives in Brentwood. You know, okay, Daniel Holman's here. He's a moderator of mine. Yeah, you're bipolar too, like me? I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't. Oh, you work with rehabs and sober living? I lived in a sober living home once in North Hollywood, California, near Oxnard and Lancashire, in North Hollywood, in the San Fernando Valley. Eastern Washington State, Jaden Woods. I've been through Spokane. I've been through Moses Lake too. I like that area. I like that area better than Western Washington, to be honest with you. Well, thank you for the compliment, Dan Antichrist. 5074. Thank you for the compliment. Ireland is just Ireland. Ireland is beautiful. I've seen pictures of it. It's the best thing that ever happened. Me too. Yeah, we talk about a lot of things. Trazodone is a very old 1960s antidepressant, but what they use it for is it has the side effect of that particular old-fashioned antidepressant. Trazodone is actually puts people to sleep. That's what they use it for, but it's technically an old-fashioned antidepressant. They like to use it more than these other new things they came up with, like Lunesta and Ambien, because Lunesta and Ambien it can be very addictive, and they can you're really only supposed to use them 2 or 3 days in a row. You're not supposed to use those every day. I can completely understand why trazodone is being used, why your husband uses trazodone. The doctor knows what they're talking about. I've been through Everett. I know Snohomish County. My son was born in Monroe. You worked in Toluca. You lived in Toluca Lake? I was right down the street. Barbara Button, 7811. Have you ever seen me before? Have you ever seen me near the North Hollywood train station, the Red Line, or Universal City? Or have you ever had a substance abuse problem and went to AA meetings in Radford Hall or Chandler Lodge? I know Toluca Lake. I used to live in an apartment. I used to live in an apartment with a roommate on Riverton Avenue off of Magnolia, next to that wonderful Ralph's that's near, it's off Magnolia and Vineland Street. You know where that Ralph's is? That Ralph's is like an open air day room for mentally ill. I used to go to the GNC store there. The new meds, some of the new medications have worse side effects. It's ridiculous. You love Monmouth, New Jersey. I've been to Monmouth, New Jersey. Yes, I have. I lived in New Jersey. I lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey for a few years as a teenager. Oh, you grew up in Toluca Lake? If you grew up in Toluca Lake, are you old enough to remember when Red Fox used to own a place there? The guy that played on that TV show Sanford and Son, he used to live there. And you know the Reagans lived there. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan lived in Toluca Lake. But I don't know if you're old enough to remember that. They might have lived there before your time. A lot of people don't know there's an actual lake back there. I know where the lake is. I've been back there. It's kind of hidden. If you saw me in Yum Yum Donuts on Oxford and Lancashire, I used to go in there and get my donuts all the time, dude. Must have bumped into you. Take a good look at my face. I'm the only guy around there that looks like this. I mean, maybe back in the 80s there was a bunch of guys that looked like this that were trying to get into the movies or something like that. But By the 2000s and 2010s, I was the only guy around there. I'm the only guy that looks like me. There's not even other guys that have the same hair color and eye color, and they're Caucasian guys like me. There's just not a bunch of dudes that look like me around there. I'm 6'1". You can't miss me. Dancing Lobster 1. Thank you for the compliment. No, but I wish I did. Barbara Budden. You might have seen me at the. I remember that restaurant that was right. What was it called? The Electric something was right around the corner. It was right adjacent to the Starbucks on Magnolia and Lancashire. I used to go there a lot. I used to go to that Starbucks all the time. I used to walk up and down Magnolia Boulevard from my apartment in Riverton. And I used to go over to Burbank too, because the Burbank border is right there on Clybourne Street. That was my hood. That Rouse is pretty shady, isn't it? That Rouse is wild. Oh my God, is that Rouse wild? It's like you go in there and there's like people wigging out like they're off all their medications and stuff. The Carl's Jr. is like all shady. You go in there, you're like, you want to get something to eat, and you're like, there's like half the place is like just vagrants hanging around asking you for money when you walk into the Carl's Jr. It's horrible. It was like that, but it was like that even 15 years ago. That's just a shady neighborhood. Oh, all the way from the Philippines. Thanks for coming in. Oh, you were born in 1972. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a lake there, but a lot of people that don't live in there don't know how to get to the lake. I know where the lake is. I've been to some people's homes around there that I met in the AA hall at Chandler Lodge that actually lived there, that lived in Toluca Lake. They owned homes there and stuff. They just brought me over there. We hung out there and stuff like that. I've been to like parties, like they have like Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step recovery parties where some guy will open up his house and you go there and you just go to the party and everybody's there. It used to be like that back in the 90s and the early 2000s. I would stay sober for like a year and hang out with all the AA people and then go back out and use and then come back. I finally stopped using alcohol like in what was that, 2007. I'm glad I got a second chance to live. Thank you for coming and visiting me all the way from the Philippines. CNDJDFGC. Hello from Puerto Galera, Philippines. Ted Koppel, you're funny, dude. Did Bob Hope have a place there? Toluca Lake's really nice. That whole area, you know what? That whole area, Toluca Woods, Toluca Terrace, Toluca Lake, all the different Tolucas. And Valley Village, North Hollywood, all the way up to Oxnard. Used to be even nicer than it is now. I remember that country. They used to have a couple of country western bars around there and everything. That whole area was, I'd say, all the way up to about the Altadena dairy on Irwin Street, where the Superior Grocers is now, all up to there, and all the neighborhoods behind Superior Grocers and all that, and all the areas that went down Irwin Street all the way to where the mall is, that they're redoing the mall. I know they probably are finished by now. That whole area, that whole part of North Hollywood, in fact, I would extend it all the way to Victory, to Lankershim and Victory, from there all the way to Laurel Canyon. That whole area used to be a lot different from my memories, because I used to go up in the valley sometimes. When I lived in Hollywood, I would come up in the valley, North Hollywood, like in the late 80s, 90s. I remember when that area was a lot nicer. It was still okay in the early 2000s. Like after like 2005 or 6, it started to fade. And now you really, I wouldn't recommend like, there's nothing north of Burbank that I'm really interested in, you know, on Lancashire. Not really. I remember when all those little stores next to Starbucks on Magnolia, all those little, like the vacuum cleaner store and all those little stores. I remember when all those stores were open. I remember before the Red Line was built. Do you remember that? Do you remember before the Red Line was built? When they were building it underneath Hollywood Boulevard and then the road caved in and then they had to build it through the mountains and everything. Before they had that, and the only public transportation from Hollywood over to North Hollywood was the 156 bus, or it used to be the 420 bus when RTD was there. Remember RTD buses? People that took the bus, it was called Rapid Transit Division. I remember when you had to go the old-fashioned way through Cahuenga Boulevard, and it would come over to North Hollywood. There was apartment complexes all over where the Red Line, where they built the Red Line, but not the new ones. It was different stuff there. And there was single family homes back there too that they bulldozed. I remember that. That was a whole neighborhood back there. I remember those days. I don't know if I'm bringing back any memories for you. At AKA Wild Bill. I think I've seen you before. You were getting jumped by that homeless dude on 6th Street behind the desert. No, dude, I don't go to 6th Street. I'm not getting jumped by some homeless dude. I'd show him the pavement, dude. You kidding me? Dude, he hit the pavement, dude. I'm not someone to fuck around with. Bag boy saved my life. The fuck, dude. You're the silly troll. You get to stay. That's a very good troll. Thank you. Trim your nose here at least. Oh, you're giving me directives? Who's giving me directives? Did you give me? The only person that gives me directives is boss. Okay, goodbye. You speak in my language. You know about all the places I'm talking about. You know I live there. I know the whole area. We probably have cross paths. I'm sure.
Claim it.
You know where I used to work a long time ago? I used to work at the Olive Garden in downtown Glendale when they first opened it up. Yeah, I used to work there. I used to work in different places, Florentine Gardens. When I was really young, I was a waiter, worked in the restaurant business and hotels and stuff like that. I worked for an employment agency that used to send me to do weddings and bar mitzvahs and other things where I would just work with a team of waiters and stuff like that. Yeah, up in like hotels and stuff that they would lease for their special events, weddings, bar mitzvahs, and other things. You know, we'd go and do waitering and we do what do you call it? Just do food service work as a waiter. They pull the tips and everything. When I was like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, 23 years old, I did that and I did retail sales. I used to sell women's shoes on commission, 7% commission. I did it in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and then I continued it on Hollywood Boulevard. Some of the shoe stores don't exist anymore. They changed their stores all around. And when I was a young guy, I used to get like women's phone numbers all the time, you know, they wanted to get to know me. I enjoyed it. Motel 6 always left the light on for me. Or whatever they had. I don't know. They didn't bet. I don't know if you know about Hollywood itself. If you lived in Toluca Lake, then you know that Hollywood throughout the years has changed. Thank you. Absolutely. So I want to Illume _ Sada _ Pavan. Wait a minute. at Eula Lume, at Eula Lume _ Sada _ Pavan. Are you Armenian? I'm just curious. Or is that a Spanish name? No, I was Al Bundy, but not married. Oh, you lived in Hollywood. Okay. Okay, you know where Whitley is then, right? You know where the cash it here check cashing is, and you know where behind that are the Fontenoy apartments. The apartments right in front of the Fontenoy. A couple ones up from the Fontenoy is where Marilyn Monroe used to live. And then in between Yucca and Whitley, on Whitley, in between Yucca and Hollywood Boulevard, is cash it here check cashing, and then Grant parking, and then some offices for people, talent agencies. And then there's the old Art Deco Retan Hotel, which turned into apartments, but is now owned. I lived there when you could rent out like the back. There's a back cottage house there that I rented out for about 6 months when I was really young, when I first came out to Hollywood. I also lived when you could rent out by the month at the Howard Hotel, which is now the Motel 6. In the late 80s and early 90s, it was the Howard Hotel. It was an Art Deco hotel that goes real far back. And it was built in 1927, 8 or 9. I'm not sure. It's actually a beautiful hotel, but before the Motel 6 redid it and took a lot of the old looking stuff out of it. But I used to live there when you can rent it as an apartment. When I was like a young guy, I was like 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. I can't remember how old I was. Yeah, but I used to live in that thing. Oh, that's a stage name? Yeah. So you've been around Yucca and Whitley, around there. I used to live around there. I had friends that lived in the Fontenoy. I had friends that lived in the Lido apartments next to Playboy Liquors. I had friends that lived in the Commodore apartments. I had friends that lived in the old Art Deco 1920s built apartments that are on what's the name of that street? It's down from the Magic Castle. There's a bunch of apartments behind the Kodak Theater, which they now call the Dolby Theater. They changed the name. I remember before the Kodak Theater, before that was built in 99, 2000, 2001. It didn't used to be there. I remember when there was a completely different building there. There used to be a big giant office building there next to the Chinese Theater before they started to try to redevelop Hollywood. Hollywood used to look different. I kind of like the old Hollywood. I like the old Hollywood. I look like Walter White. Yeah, you remember all that? Howard Hotel a Howard Hotel is when you go to Hollywood and you want to save money and you're a young guy and you just want to like rent a motel room out as like almost like a studio apartment. I lived there for a whole year. I lived 5 months in Howard, and then I lived in a little cottage. There was like a little guest house thing that was behind where the Retan Hotel is, but on the Retan Hill property. If you go into the Retan Hotel and you go, there's a desk, and you go up the stairs, there's an old-fashioned telephone booth there, and then you walk down the hallway and you go up out the back door, and there's a bunch of birds of paradise flowers that they grow all around there in a palm tree, and there's a cottage house back there, and me and some of my friends used to rent that cottage house back there. So we're way off the street and everything, but you could still hear the helicopters. By the time I got there in the late 80s and stuff, they used to have those ghetto birds all over the place every summer, just it's in my background, a noise in my brain still, hearing helicopters LAPD helicopters. So like they're everywhere. They utilize them out there. You know where else they have them? In Phoenix, Arizona, because Phoenix is a really spread out city as far as acreage. There's a lot of acres. I think Los Angeles City is 498 square miles of city. And Phoenix is kind of like that too. It's about the same size in square miles. So the police departments of both cities use helicopters, and I think Las Vegas does too. They use helicopters to assist them in policing the city. Those three cities I know about, they use helicopters. I don't know if they're doing it in Dallas. There's some cities in Texas like Houston and Dallas that are pretty spread out too. I could imagine they could utilize helicopters. You lived in Hollywood, late 80s, across from Fredericks of Hollywood. You did? Okay, you lived across from Fredericks of Hollywood. Okay, to cash it here, across the street is the toy store. Fredericks of Hollywood is a little bit down the street. I remember that there used to be apartments on Hollywood Boulevard, like old buildings where they would rent apartments on the upper floors and stuff like that. Did you live in one of those? Across from Fredericks of Hollywood? I remember. Oh, okay. It used to be dirt cheap to live there. You could live in a studio apartment for like $400. You could live, this is late 80s, you could rent a room out from someone's house for like $100 a week, or if you're a young person and have a lot of money, or everybody had a roommate. Because a lot of people don't realize that Southern California has always been expensive. I mean, we didn't make as much money back then. So $450 or $500 for an apartment in 1989 or 1990 is the equivalent of paying, like, in today's money, let's think about it. It's 35 years ago. That's the equivalent of paying about $1,600 in today's money. I mean, I always had bartending and waiting tables jobs, so you know, I made enough money to pay my rent and pay car insurance and, you know, have nice threads and stuff. I mean, I really hustled, but I couldn't even imagine being able to afford an apartment on minimum wage. Minimum wage back then was like, what was it, like $3.35? It went up to like $3.50. There was an Arby's roast beef. I had a friend that worked at Arby's, the one that closed down. I can't remember if it was on Sunset or Hollywood Boulevard. I can't remember. He worked at like the AM PM mini market, and then he also worked at another job at Arby's roast beef, and he was only working for like $4.25 an hour at one place and $5 an hour at the other place. This guy was like 19 years old, and all he could afford was like half the rent on a one-bedroom apartment. So back in those days, like, people don't realize that $450 for an apartment is like just paying $1,500 or $1,600 in today's money. I mean, adjusted for inflation, you know what I mean? So young people, they had to hustle. There was homeless. Do you remember when there used to be homeless runaways and all kinds of stuff down there? We had a problem. I'll tell America this. A long time ago, in the mid to late 1980s, there was a mini homeless problem issue in Los Angeles, because a lot of the state hospitals that kept like really, really mentally unstable people that were not able to take care of themselves, they changed the rules around, and they gave the people in the state mental institutions the option to leave if they felt like it, whether they could take care of themselves or not, because they legally cannot hold them there. A lot of those places turned into boarding care facilities for the mentally ill, where you pay whatever your disability check is if you're disabled and you're got schizophrenia and you can't take care. People that just can't take care of themselves, like the severely mentally ill, and they let them out of these state hospitals, and they're all over the streets. And anybody in the mid to late 1980s and into the early 90s remembers that time frame in Los Angeles County, where there was a bunch of like just people that didn't have a place to live. But it was different back then. Like, they lived on the street. They didn't have tents and RVs and stuff. It was really rough living for some of those people. They used to take the homeless, and they used to take the homeless people and go to the Methodist church on Highland and Franklin, remember? And they used to let the homeless stay there on the church pews because there was that many homeless people in Hollywood. And then the homeless thing kind of took care of itself, and you didn't see it. It kind of went away, maybe in Skid Row a little bit, not much though. And then sometime around 2015, I started seeing unhoused people everywhere again. Like it started all over again. Somewhere around 2015, 16. But this time it was worse. You know what I mean? Like there's like it got to the point by 2020, I Ms. Newman, didn't who was that doctor that was on television that said that he didn't believe that there was 55,000
Dr. Drew.
Homeless people in LA County. And in Los Angeles County, Dr. Drew Pinsky was on a podcast or something, and he talked to all the guys that ran the homeless shelters down there in LA, and he said that there must have been like over 100,000 homeless people in Los Angeles. This was way back in like 2021. A lot of people are off the street now. A lot of people that did not have a place to live, they found a place to live. They moved out of state. Some of them were legally in the country anyway. They went back to Mexico. But there's less homeless people on the street than 3 years ago. So they're making some progress out there. They really are making some progress in getting a lot of disabled people and elderly people off of the street. I mean, people that really need medical attention and stuff, getting them off of the street and getting them back into hospitals and to board and care facilities and into homeless shelters and helping them get some permanent housing and stuff. So at least some of the nonprofits and social workers are doing their job out there. I think a lot of the people, I think their homeless population in LA went down largely because people just left. Because people started getting so mad about it, they weren't even giving them any money anymore. People just left. I don't know where they went. It went somewhere. Yeah, but it did have a little bit of a homeless issue in the late 80s. Yeah. I think many died, Joe Smith, 505. And that's sad. That's very sad. Guardian Angel said, we ever have them in LA? I don't think we ever did. They were in New York. I resemble that remark. You resemble that remark? That's okay. What does that mean? They removed people from the mental hospitals in the 1980s. Yeah, because I remember there was like homeless, like middle-aged guys, old guys. There was runaway teenagers. Like it looked like something out of that movie Taxi Driver or something. It was really crazy. There was like runaway teenagers in Hollywood, all just running around the street. They came from all over the country. And they used to go to, they had a place of social workers used to help them out and get them reconnected with their families and stuff like that. I mean, these were kids and stuff like roaming the street. It was pretty rough in the 80s back then. Like in the late 80s. I got there in 88. I think it was 88 I got there. Yeah, 88. Late 88. It was pretty bad. I remember. So it's not like this homeless thing. The homeless thing went away, and then it came back 20 years later is what happened. You see? It was pretty much done with by 1995, and then by 2015, all of a sudden, all these, but this time it's a lot of homeless. Like, how are you going to have 100,000 people without a place to live living on the street? Well, maybe about 30,000 living in the shelters and another 70,000 people out on the street living rough. In the United States of America, that should never happen. There should be no women or children ever homeless or anybody that's 65 years old or older. None. Absolutely unacceptable. In my opinion, and in most Americans' opinion. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just saying, Dirty Clean, I'm saying that 55,000, I'm talking about That's just Los Angeles County. Now, there might be 5 million in the entire state of California. I would believe that. In the entire state of California, that because it's all over Sacramento, North Sacramento, Oakland, it's crazy. Even Fresno, it's just like, oh my God. I don't know what's going on. Some parts of our country are functioning. I've been around. Some parts of the United States are functioning pretty much like socially. Neighbors talking to each other, communities close-knit. There are some parts of the country, small towns, and a lot of areas that might be poor in the deep South, in the southern states. They're poor, but people still are like cordial and friendly, and they give you the shirt off their back. But there's some parts of the country where there's like an entire group, age category of people, like from like under 40 years old, that just act completely different. It's like they were taught something different or something than people over 40 years old. There's like something, it's like they weren't taught certain things about life that are facts, or they were deliberately lied to by their instructors in high schools or colleges or whatever. They don't know how to spell. They don't know, they don't speak properly. They don't have, it's not all of the younger people, but it's a nice big percentage of them. Something's changed in our country in between, I don't know, like in a 10-year time frame, like in between like 2014-ish or 15-ish to about 2025, something in the and around a roughly a 8 to 10-year time frame. And when you add coronavirus on top of that and all that stuff, something changed, and there's a whole large percentage of people that I've noticed in just casual observation that are in between the ages of about late 20s to about early 40s that just seem to have been taught something different about life in general, are not taught things. And it's odd. And there's unfortunately a lot of adult men that did not have fathers in the house, I can tell. And they don't understand how to even date a woman or court a woman, or they're living with their mom until they're 30 years old. They play video games all day long, or they don't have a driver's license. And unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, women are supposed to rant and rave. They're supposed to bitch and be emotional and stuff. I understand that because I'm a man. Women are different from men. Most women are. And it doesn't bother me, really, not that much. That's how women are. Women are emotional, okay? A lot of guys are not. There's a lot of men that I've noticed, some of the younger men, not most men, but a nice big percentage of men in this country that it's a problem, that they act like they're immature or something. And some of them are bad men that don't understand things like when a woman says no, they mean no. And there's crimes against women and elderly, and they hurt people. There's a larger percentage of bad men in the United States, and it's something that needs to be dealt with. And good men have to take care of it, especially men that have a badge and a gun. That badge gives them authority. That's why they're called peace officers, and they need to take care of it. We don't need social workers on buses. We need police officers. We need the buses that we take and trains and all these different things. These trains are building and everything. They need to have law enforcement, police contracts with the city or the MTA or whatever like that, providing safety for people that are traveling on the trains in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco and places like that. You don't need social workers without sidearms are not going to be able to solve that problem. You got people getting beat up on the trains and the buses and all kinds of crazy stuff going on that if you're older, you know that never used to happen. You used to get federal time for that. You go to a federal prison for that with no parole if you bother anybody on public transportation. But then it just started happening like normal for like 10 years in a row. There's some There's a percentage of men in the country that's larger than it normally is. In modern times that are bad men. They haven't been taught how to keep their hands to themselves. They haven't been taught how to conduct themselves around society. And they need to be reformed somehow, either in the prison system or mental hospitals, wherever the hell they need to go. And if you're a guy and you're living in your mother's house and you're like 30, it's like, dude, at least like give your mother some rent money and some money for the utilities, okay? Please don't be a punk ass bitch. You could be a dork and a nerd and not have a girlfriend, but give your mother some money towards the bills, okay? Now, Texas is a little different. Yo, I know about Texas a little bit. Fort Worth, Dallas. You know how cops are in Texas. They're not like New York or LA. You know how people in Texas are. First of all, you guys are armed there. You guys are strapped. I've seen it. I see guys in Texas, they see somebody grabs some lady's purse and runs down the street. There's going to be like 5 guys running after that guy. Want to put him on the pavement. They are going to get involved. In some place like Amarillo, Texas, or like Waco or something like that. Dude, you're not going to get away with that shit. People just don't act like that there. I'm talking about the East Coast and the West Coast. Got some serious crime problems. Dude, it's bad. It's bad. This country really needs to like get it together. And you know what? Donald Trump ain't going to fix everything, and the government's not going to fix our problems and stuff. We're just regular. A lot of us are just middle income people or upper middle income people to billionaires and millionaires, and upper middle income, middle income, and lower middle income, and working poor. We're all the same to them. You say they got $20 million or more in the bank. We're all the same peasants to them. I don't care if you're an engineer or a doctor. You're not like them. We regular people that make under, like people that don't make $150,000, $200,000 a year or less. That's the cap, $200,000 or less. Poor or $200,000. Just people that work for a living. We got to straighten our country out. We can't expect to just vote for somebody and they're going to do it. We got to take care of our own country at a municipal level, at the city level, at the county level, at our neighborhood level. We need to shun people that are doing bad things. We need to handle our business. The men need to handle our business at the local level. Okay? And don't expect the federal government or the state government to just run in there and fix it for us. It's not going to happen. It's time to get off the fence. Almost everybody in here is agreeing with me. And now, you know who's in, and speaking of MAGA, guess who the people that are the most pissed off about the crime in Los Angeles, California, that you hear on Fox News every day? Democrats, because Democrats are like 95% of the city of Los Angeles is Democrats. They're mad at these other people because they're moderate Democrats. See, when they pulled that Democrat lever, they didn't think that a communist was going to be their mayor and have a no cash bail system. They didn't know that most Democrats, almost all of them, do not want a lawless city. You know what's happening right now is the Democrats are going to come back towards the middle. They're going to become more moderate. And they're going to want their cities that they love so much. They like this urban stuff. Democrats like urban, and they want their cities to be, you know, safe. They don't want to get hit on the head with a brick, you know. It'll straighten itself out. I don't think it'll take too long. They don't want Karen Bass in there. And Fox News is a bunch of fake ass shit too. So is CNN. They're all fake. Well, some people don't like Trump and some people do, but he can't, no president's going to be able to fix things at a local level. If you live in a city in America, if you live in a nice city like that doesn't have a lot of problems like Billings, Montana, or Omaha, Nebraska, or someplace like that, or Topeka someplace, or someplace that just doesn't have enormous problems, count your blessings. Count your blessings, because you got some of these people living in these bigger cities and stuff that it's just nuts right now. Things have really changed since I was a kid in the 80s, man. Late 70s, 80s. Neighbors all used to know each other and stuff like that. It's just, people don't talk to their neighbors as much anymore. You know what's funny? You know what's interesting I do like about the South? I live in the South. When you get out in the suburbs and the smaller towns, neighbors actually do talk to each other in the South. It's kind of like going back in time here a little bit. You go to a small town in like North Carolina or South Carolina, and all the neighbors know each other. It's like it's the 1970s and 80s all over again. But when you go out north, or if you go out to California, it's different. It's different. Change takes time. We'll get there, but the government isn't going to fix our problems for us. They're into governance, not government. They're not your friend. Yeah, everybody wants to see the city safe. One day, when all you young people, they're under like 25 years old, one day, most of St. Louis is going to be a safe place. Most of Detroit is going to completely change, and it's going to be a safe place. It'll be a smaller city, but safe. Things change. In my lifetime, I watched our big cities fall apart. If you're under 25 years old, you're going to see the rebuilding of cities, particularly in the Midwest. Not in the South, but in the Midwest, you're going to see it. You're going to see the rebuilding of Ohio and Indiana and Illinois and Michigan and all these places. These places are going to be fixed up. And there's going to be jobs up there too. You'll have a nice life. Yeah. Well, they have to, because, dude, if you're dude, think about it, what the mortality rate is. The average man in the United States dies at the age of 74. The average woman at 76. Okay, say it's 75. What's half of 75? What does that be? Is that 37 and a half years old? Is that it? Did I do my math right? Okay, yeah. When you're 37 and a half years old, that's a halfway point in your life. If you're 45 years old, you're past the halfway point in your life. So you're probably not going to be able to benefit. I don't know. If you're 45 years old, you probably can benefit somewhat from some of these cities getting fixed up. You'll be able to actually go back and to live into a city where you can actually take a trolley car and live in the city and not have to drive a zillion miles on a freeway to get to work and all this shit. It'll be like going back into the 40s or 50s when the cities used to be safe. I mean, if you're like in your early 40s, you might be able to see, by the time you get to be a senior citizen, you might be able to see safe cities more than you do now. They could be fixed up. They could be policed if people have the will to do it. What is this? You want me to start a podcast? I could go that direction with this. See, right now, this is a variety channel. You talk about whatever you want to talk about. You guys talk amongst yourselves. My main goal is for you guys to talk to each other. Okay? This is the only country that I'm talking to American citizens. This is the only country we have, no matter what your politics are. We have to have some basic safety. If you don't have basic safety, you don't have a country. You have to have borders. It's our country. You can't just walk in here, and you have to have some basic safety. And then we can discuss everything else. We can discuss whether or not we want to have Section 8 and welfare, food stamps, and all this other stuff. We can discuss all that other stuff. But we have to have some basic safety. We got to agree on something. We need jobs. These young people have to go to work. They got to do something. I don't care what they do. They have to actually do something. I don't know. Maybe we should do like back in the 1930s when they had, what is that? Who was that president? FDR. He just hired a bunch of young guys to run around, build a bunch of electrical plants and dams and all kinds, build interstate roads and stuff like that. Maybe we need to fix up our infrastructure, and all these unemployed guys in their 20s and 30s that can dig ditches and pick up bricks all day long. Maybe they should go to work doing that kind of shit. And if they need, and have like a brothel down the street, or have like a bar down the street, so they can pick up some chicks. I'm sure there'll be a Motel 6 around, and they always leave the light on for you, you know. Hold people accountable. Fucking, I can't believe, like in the last few years, how many times have we heard about some jerk like throwing some old lady in front of the train in New York City? What kind of a piece of garbage do you have to be to do something like that? That's like a story in like the 80s that you would hear like maybe once in like 5 years. And everybody would be on television, glued to the television going, oh my God, somebody threw an old lady in front of a train? Like every 5 years. Now it's like every other week I'm hearing like some horrific crime story like that. What's the matter with these people? Are they like fucking fucking crazy and shit? I don't know about you guys. I'm getting the fuck out of these big cities. My ass is like fucking, I'm middle-aged. And dude, I'm moving to the middle of the country. I'm going to Missouri. Isn't that where I'm going? Yeah, I'm going to Missouri, dude. I'm going to fucking Kansas City, right in the middle of the country. Yeah. I'm getting away from the East Coast and the West Coast. I'm not fucking around. All you young people go fix California. Good luck, motherfucker. You fix that shit up. I'm not going there. You have individuals that like to divide. The only people that like to divide are communists. You know, like Karen Bass and that piece of shit Mandami. Oh, by the way, it's on purpose. It's deliberate. So they cause so much chaos that they say, oh, give your guns back. What it is we have a communist infiltration in certain parts of the country that needs to be dealt with. Communism has never been realized. It's not going to work here. People aren't going to go for it. Lake of the Ozarks might be nice. You know, I've been to the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas and Missouri. I dig Branson a lot. In that little town called Mountain View, Arkansas. What's that Missouri called? The Show Me State? Like, fuck you, show me the money or something like that. Yo, I could go for Missouri. I'm looking at Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri on both sides. And I'm looking at those places and what how much homes cost, economic opportunity, things like that. I'm looking at that, and it's looking like that's one of the best places. I'm also looking at Des Moines, Iowa. I'm also looking at Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm looking at Fort Worth, Texas. Those are the places I'm like looking at, but it really looks like it's going to be Missouri that I relocate to. Okay, it's time for me to mess up my hair. You know this part of the show, right? You don't really find me amusing, do you? Miss Minute, do you? You don't find me amusing? Okay. I have to shut it down now. Some people want to go to sleep over here. And you know me, I can't go to bed till like 1 o'clock in the morning. I could. Do I have to get up at 6? No, tomorrow I can sleep until 7. most days I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but tomorrow I can wake up at 7. But I have to split. It's been really fun talking to you. If you could hit the subscribe button to at Hollywoodland21 is my handle. My channel name is Hollywoodland22. I really do appreciate you guys coming in here and spending some time with me. You guys are beautiful. You do know that I'm not getting paid to do any of this. I'm not gonna monetize this channel until I get 5,000 subscribers. So let's get me up to 5,000 subscribers in the next 30 days. 30 days from now, by June, July, August, say by August the 10th. It's free to subscribe, and we're gonna have a lot of fun coming into the holiday season later on this year. Okay, you guys are wonderful. Thanks for coming in. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Stay safe.